Hi everyone. Firstly, I'm really glad to stand here in front of you and seeing all of these faces looking back at me. So let me firstly introduce myself, who I am. I know that she introduced me, but Eman Alhaj Ali. I have been evacuated from Gaza in April 2025 last year, and I'm a freelance journalist, writer, translator, and storyteller. I have published many publications on international and local websites like the New Arab, the Electronic Intifada, and many others. And I have included some writings and contributions in many anthologies. And these are, as you can see here on the screen, some of my publications on the international journals. And another thing here that I am a member of We Are Not Numbers. If you know this organization, it's like an organization that amplifies for the Palestinian voices and stories to keep us tell our stories to the whole world. So maybe this is the first thing for me to improve myself as a writer, as a storyteller, and to keep telling my stories to the whole world. So this is the first milestone for me to start publishing and sharing my personal stories, or the stories of us as Palestinians who have been suffering under the occupation, the Israeli occupation, and escalations for many years. And these are some of the anthologies I have contributed in. One of them is the book of We Are Not Numbers. This book that includes the most famous or successful stories of Palestinian writers and storytellers for the past 10 years. And another thing is the anthology of Viewer Seeds. I have written the introduction or the foreword of this book, and it includes different voices from all around the world. All of them amplify for Gaza and Palestine and want the end of the genocide and the suffering of the Palestinians. And here's another anthology that I have contributed, and it's called From Gaza to Japan. It has been translated to Japanese. Many of my writings are translated into Japanese and now are being read by multiple people in Japan. And my latest work is the Zine that I have published. It's called The Mirror of Memory, What Remains and What Must Be Remembered. And I want to shed the light on the title of this book, or of this Zine. What does it mean, and why did I choose this title? So the mirror, it's not about just something that's happening right now. It reflects what it's been going on, the suffering from which the Palestinians have been going through for multiple years under the Israeli occupation. And memory that we are not passive, we are human beings. We have our own identity and we have our own history as the indigenous people of this land. So this is the main reason for choosing this title for my zine, because it reflects our stories as the indigenous people of this land, as we are the occupied, and what the Israeli occupation have been doing from like brutal actions, brutal massacres against us as the indigenous people of this land. And one of my writings that I have included in this zine, it's called Maqluba, Finding Solace in Maqluba. It's a famous traditional Palestinian dish that we cook most of the time, especially in occasions. But what's really ridiculous is that we were regularly cooking it during the genocide for the past 3 years or so. And the fact is that where the ingredients of this dish have been changed, because before the genocide we were having meat, we were having chicken to cook this kind of dish. But during the genocide, all of these ingredients have been replaced with fake, maybe let's say fake ingredients to cook this dish. And what does it mean, maqluba? If you know the meaning of it in English, it means that everything is upside down. That's why the Palestinians in Gaza, especially during the genocide or during the attack, they have been trying to show a kind of resilience, a kind of steadfastness from which they can escape away from the suffering, from the horrors that they have been going through. And I have included also some poems in this zine, Gaza Year 2. It marked the 2 years under which I lived during the genocide before evacuation, and another poem about the sea and what does it mean to us as Palestinians, as it's like the main source of entertainment for us. And you can find this book or zine on the website of Olives and Melons, so it's available online and in some bookstores. Let me tell you about also myself. Here it shows my photo since when I arrived firstly to Ireland last year as a genocide survivor. And I want to talk now about our lives before the genocide, how it was, how we have been living. Maybe when I'm telling you now about my personal story, it's not only about myself, but it represents many Palestinians living in Gaza. So it's not only a personal story that only talks about me personally. So before the genocide, my childhood, or the childhood of many children, has been shaped by traumas, has been shaped by attacks, by the Israeli occupation. And me personally, when any person or when anyone asks me about how old I am, standing, for example, now in front of you, if you want to ask me how old I'm not gonna answer you in a normal sentence or a normal age to say I'm 24 years old. I'm gonna say I'm 7 years old. And maybe you are going to laugh about that because it's a kind of dark humor that we use or we have been using in Gaza to talk about how our ages, how our years have been shaped by massacres, by Israeli attacks since we were born. So childhood in Gaza does not go in a straight line. It's interrupted, and the children do not grow up normally as any other child around the world. Can you imagine a child in his 2 years old, for example, can differentiate between different kinds of explosions, between different types of artilleries, or they can they can also name the drones, the airstrikes without even learning their names or learning any subject at schools. So this is how our children, or how our childhood has been shaped since we were born in attacks and under the Israeli occupation. And another thing I want to talk about my childhood is that I have lived as an only child for around 10 years since I was born. I didn't have siblings. I didn't have a brother or a sister to share my stories with. And it was really hard and challenging for me to be the only child for my family. And I still remember all of these moments, like the feeling of loneliness when you, for example, want to go to school and you can see the other children clinging to the hands of their brothers or sisters. Or if you want, for example, to play or enjoy your free time and you do not have a sibling to play with or to share your stories with. I had this feeling of loneliness, but my parents were spoiling me all the time. I was the spoiled child for them. And after 10 years, my mother got pregnant. Unfortunately, at that time, we were, as any other family, we were happy for that, and we went to buy some clothes for this coming baby. But our joy did not complete at that time. And the reason for that was one of the escalations, the Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip. I was sitting with my parents on a table, and all of a sudden, while checking on the news, we heard that there would be an Israeli escalation on the Gaza Strip. This was around 2010, something like this. This is a moment that I will not forget. It will be etched in my mind forever, because from that time, as a child, I had this anguish against the Israeli occupation, because they robbed me from this happiness of having a sibling since I was a kid. And at that time, we were sitting in a living room in our grandmother's home, and all of a sudden, a strong or a near airstrike happened near the place where we in. And unfortunately, my mother fled to the ground, and she started bleeding. At that time, we knew that the baby inside her womb would not survive. My father rushed her to the hospital, and we received this heartbreaking news that the baby inside her womb has died, unfortunately. So this is the moment that I will always talk about whenever I talk about the Israeli occupation and how they deliberately rob us from our happy moments as families, as civilians, as normal people who do not do anything for them. And but later, after some years, as you can see here now in the photo, I have now 4 young siblings, and let me say that I do not feel that they are my siblings only. I feel that I am a second mother for them, because I have this type or this kind of responsibility towards them. I feel that their second mother. I have been taking care of them, teaching them whenever I had time. And it was really hard to leave these young siblings when I got evacuated from Gaza. And here you can see also before the genocide in 2023, as you know, the genocide started in October 2023, and my graduation was in August 2023 before the genocide. And I was eager to start my career job or my career path as any other person around the world who finished their studies and want to enter the career market. And unfortunately, my dreams at that time have been turned into ashes because of the genocide that began. And when the genocide began, this is a photo that I have taken from the window of our home before we were displaced in the first month of the genocide. This shows the first airstrike that happened in the early days of the genocide. I took it from the window of my bedroom. And when the genocide began, it was really, let me say, we were not shocked at that time because, as I told you, we are people who have accustomed to living under the Israeli occupation, under escalations all the time. And when it started, we were not shocked at that time. We just said, oh, it's normal. It may last for weeks or for days or even months, but we didn't expect that it would last that long, for years or so. And this is also a photo that I have taken that shows the tents in the city of Rafah when we firstly displaced. So during the genocide, in the first days of the genocide, as you know, the Gaza Strip has been divided by the Israeli occupation into 2 areas only, the north and the south. And at that time, multiple people from the north have been forced to evacuate their homes to the southern areas of the Gaza Strip, especially in Khan Yunis or Rafah. And at that time, multiple people were attacked, were killed during their evacuation in what the Israeli occupation told as safe zones in Salah ad-Din Street. And this shows the cruelty or the brutality of the Israeli occupation, of how they ask people, civilians, to evacuate their homes, but they bombed them at the same time during their evacuation. That was really horrifying and miserable for all of the Palestinians in Gaza. And we were waiting for our turn to come to evacuate our homes, because we were living in the middle area at that time. And when it happened, we didn't know what to do, because it's really hard for us to abandon our homes, to abandon the places in which we have been living, in which we were enjoying our moments, for example, in the living rooms, or where the laughter moments that we were having with my parents or with my siblings, or in the dining room, or in the kitchen, or in our bedrooms. It was really hard for us, and at that time, my father told us, no, we are not gonna leave our home, even if the Israeli occupation came closer for us. And I still remember those horrifying moments where when my siblings were crying all the time, clinging to me and hugged me, and I was just trying, I didn't know what to do. I felt that I am helpless. And each day we were feeling that the artilleries were coming closer and closer to us, until that they surrounded us from the whole area we were, and we didn't have any way to escape the area from where we were living. So we have been displaced during the genocide from one place into another, and I can say that we have been forced to displace around 7 times from one tent into another, from one place into another, knowing that there was no safe place for us as people, as civilians who have been living under the Israeli attack. And we were forced after that to evacuate to Rafah. And when we were all of the family members, around 50 people, including elderly people, children, and patients, all of us, all of the family members, just got a truck. We were on this truck, and we were surrounded by the Israeli tanks from the area we were living. So we were forced to evacuate at that time from one road or one street that we knew at that time we would not survive, because we were surrounded from the Israelis from everywhere. So when we crossed that street, or when we crossed that place, all of us lowered our heads, and maybe I can say we survived by a miracle at that time, by a miracle from God, from Allah, because it was really terrifying and unimaginable even to escape from the area from we were, because we were surrounded. And at that time we have lived through multiple sufferings as any other displaced people. We were forced to live in tents in Rafah in summer and winter. In summer, where there were many insects, many diseases, and we did not have even bags of flour or enough water to survive the day. I still remember those days when I was just looking at my siblings who were just asking for a piece of bread or a biscuit or something to survive the day. And we did not have anything we were surviving. If we had the chance to get aids from the aid trucks that were coming to us, however, they were not enough for the whole family. And in winter, I still remember those days when the water of the rain were getting inside our tent, when all of us, my siblings, my parents and I, sleeping and sitting on the ground, because there were not enough mattresses to warm our bodies. And instead of just sleeping without blankets to warm our bodies, also we were sleeping with empty stomachs, so we were not warm enough during winter at the same time. And I want to say another thing about these are some photos shows our home before the genocide and after the genocide and how it was burned and demolished. And my desktop here, I had lots of memories with my desktop. I am a lover of books and stories, novels, and I do like writing as a storyteller and as a freelance journalist. So I had lots of books here on my desktop, and unfortunately all of these things are now have been turned into ashes, and yeah, I have survived with my soul without anything, even if after being evacuated from Gaza, I was not allowed to take anything with me. And when we were in Rafah, at that time, we have received the news of the destruction, of the burning of our home. And at that time, I just was shocked, and I said, oh, it's impossible. Our home is okay. Our home is fine. We did not lose it. But I was not prepared to accept the fact that, yeah, our home was burned. Our home was destroyed by the Israeli occupation. All of the memories started to flood to my mind, and I started to remember everything, the moments, this desktop that was full of books, my cozy bed, the spiders that were stinking in front of the window of our living room. I remembered all of the memories, the olive trees, the lemon trees, and everything that would remind me of our home. I started to remember the moments I was sitting with my mother, just standing in front of her while she was cooking the Palestinian traditional food, like the manakish. I don't know if you know this, the manakish, it's a Palestinian dish with thyme and olive oil that we as Palestinians cook or bake for breakfast, and the tea with mint and everything that could remind me of those moments. And unfortunately, this is what the Israeli occupation try all the time to destroy us, to erase our history, to erase our beautiful moments that we had as the indigenous people of this land, our history and our heritage. And as I told you here, even the sea lost its joy. We as Palestinians living in Gaza, as Palestinians who have been living under the Israeli siege for more than 18 years, we have been restricted or have not allowed to go to multiple places or to move outside Gaza as any other country because of the borders that were usually closed every now and then. So we found in sea as the main entertainment for us. We found it the source for joyful moments. We were heading to the sea in summer, in holidays with our siblings, with our children, all of the families getting there to enjoy their time. And here's a photo that shows the sea before the genocide, before the genocide and after the genocide. How before the genocide it was full of families who were enjoying their moments, for example, making barbecue for lunch, and the children who were showing their talents by, for example, making like castles from sand or something, playing with their parents. And this is how it has been turned after the genocide. It has been turned into tens of the displaced people who are not even, who lost their homes or who cannot even get back to their homes because they have nothing to go to. And even the occasions like Ramadan and Eid that all of the Muslims around the world were enjoying during those 2 years when I was in Gaza. And in those occasions, for example, in Ramadan, instead of the Palestinians in Gaza, instead of going to pray normally at Taraweeh like Muslims around the world, they have been killed, and the mosques were leveled on the heads of the Palestinians while praying. And another thing on moments or the occasions of Eid. For example, the Palestinians in Gaza, instead of sacrificing udhiyah or meat as normal Muslims around the world to enjoy this occasion, the Palestinians in Gaza have been martyred, have been killed. So the Palestinians have been sacrificing their souls instead of sacrificing udhiyah or enjoying these occasions. And this shows some photos of how the Palestinians in Gaza have been spending their joyful moments before the genocide, sitting while eating or breaking their fasting. And here we have some pickles and other things in the market that's called Souq al-Zawiya market. And maybe this year, because of the ceasefire, I'm not saying that all of these moments have been turned into something else, because even with the ceasefire, the joy is still is not complete, because the attacks and the killings of the civilians are still continuous by the Israeli occupation. And I want also to talk about something else, how our children have lost their innocence. And as I shed the light before, or as I have mentioned before, that children around the world have been going to school and learning, but our children have been holding their backpacks and running in the streets to evacuate from one tent into another, and their backpacks were getting lighter and lighter every time they were forced to evacuate. So that's really miserable for a child who has been dreaming to complete their education as any normal child around the world. And another thing, our children have been walking long distances just to get a small gallon of water or like a small plate of food from the trucks of aids. And our children have been sleeping on the sounds of artilleries and the sounds of drones instead of sleeping on the sounds of songs or on the sounds of Quran or peaceful moments as any other child around the world. And here we have, I have here one beautiful place from hundreds of places in the Gaza Strip, like to show how we have been seeing Gaza as paradise on earth, how we have been trying to create joyful moments for us to enjoy ourselves despite the siege under which we have been living for hundreds of years. And this shows the destruction of Al-Umari Mosque, how it has been destroyed deliberately by the Israeli occupation. This mosque, one of the eldest mosques in the Gaza Strip and in Palestine, it's around 1,400 years ago. It has been built at that time. And this is one of the deliberate attempts of the Israeli occupation to erase our history, to erase our identity as Palestinians. This mosque that has included multiple of books, multiple of historical things that's related to the Palestinians has been destroyed, along with other churches, along with other libraries that matter to us as Palestinians living in Gaza. And this is another thing, as I have mentioned before, the joyful moments of the children. It's like a crowded place. All of us, all of the families were enjoying themselves before the genocide. This is how summer was for us. This is how we were entertaining ourselves on the beach with our families. And this is the port of the Gaza Strip as well. And now I want to talk about the importance of storytelling, the importance of writing. Why do we write as Palestinians especially? Why we find a way to focus on writing? What does it mean for us? So as a storyteller and writer, and as I'm now standing in front of you, I'm not standing as a politician. I'm standing here as a writer, as a freelance journalist, and as a genocide survivor. Writing and storytelling for me was not only during the genocide, before even the start of the genocide. Me, as many other writers, as many other Palestinians, young writers who have been focusing on writing, I have been trying to document our stories, our personal stories. I used to write some fictional stories, some poems, some essays, because sometimes I feel that this is the way that we can express ourselves, because we as Palestinians have been trapped, have been restricted in many ways to speak up, to talk about our rights, exercise our basic rights as any human being around the world. So writing for me is like a weapon. It's writing is not just a hobby. It's like a space for me that can tell the truth when the borders are closed. So we find strength in writing, and writing is like an act that can advocate for our voices. And during the genocide, I documented the displacement, for example, the displacement experience from which I have suffered. I have met and interviewed many people who have been robbed of their, who have really heartbreaking stories to tell. And stories can tell what not the new media outlets can tell, because you know, in new media outlets, like when you are watching news on TV or on the internet, what you see now, what you only see is the numbers, how many people have been killed, or how many people have been, the children who have been killed, just number of those children, but you do not know the real stories behind that. That's why when you read a story, when you read a short poem, for example, that a writer from Gaza writes, you will know that behind these stories there are individuals, there are human beings who deserve to live peacefully, who deserve to live normally as any other children, as any other indigenous people, normal people of this land. And this shows a photo for me while I was documenting, especially in the hardest moments in Gaza. So writing inside Gaza was not really that easy for us, because when you write inside the war, it would mean that you will lose your life any moment. There were moments when I was writing and just thinking about, like, will this be my last articles that I have written? Will the next story, will I be alive or not? I was writing about, for example, a neighborhood that was hit by an Israeli airstrike, and I was just thinking, will our neighborhood will be the next one or not? So this is what it means to write inside a war zone. It means that the word can cost your life. And writing, I feel it's like a voice for the voiceless, as I said, because we as Palestinians have been trapped, have been silenced by the Israeli occupation in many ways. So when we write, we try to find a way to express ourselves, to express our feelings, to express our suffering. That writing is not only about also the pain. We as Palestinians, we also write about the shattered futures, what should have been, about the degrees that should have been gotten by us, about, for example, jobs that should have been gotten, or degrees, or schools that children should have gone to. And when I talk about writing or storytelling, I want all of you to know about this professor and this what we call as the voice of the Gaza Strip, who has been killed and assassinated in the early months of the genocide. So this was not like a mentor for me. His name is Rifat al-Arair. He was the voice of the Gaza Strip, and he was assassinated because he was writing, because he was defending defending us as Palestinians. He was representing all of us. And this is a photo for me and Rifat before at the university. He taught me many courses, including writing as well. Rifat al-Arair also, when he was killed in the beginning, in the early months of the genocide, I tributed him in many ways. This is one of the articles that I have written about him in Washington Report and in memoriam to tell the whole world who Rifat al-Hariri was and how he was defending and talking about the Palestinian case. Also, Rifat al-Hariri was one of the co-founders of We Are Not Numbers, and I want to confirm on this platform, We Are Not Numbers is an essential platform if you want to read the real stories of the Palestinians, of young Palestinians who have been writing and advocating their voices. Whenever you want to know about the sufferings, about the Palestinians who have dreams, who want to learn, who want to live peacefully. For example, a student who lost the opportunity to complete their studies, or a mother who lost her entire family. If you want to read more, to know more about all of these stories, I recommend you to read from this platform, the platform of We Are Not Numbers, that shed the light on the real stories of the Palestinians, not only numbers like new media outlets, when you just read a headline without knowing the real stories behind that. And Rifat al-Hariri was one of the co-founders of this organization. And here I want also to shed the light on the deliberate attack on schools, the deliberate attack on the educational institutions. And one of them was the destruction of the Islamic University that I have learned. And it means that the Israeli occupation have been trying to destroy or to erase the intellectual minds. And this is a deliberate attempt to silence us, to trap us, not to tell the world about what's been going on. They don't want us to be educated. They want us to be illiterate because they don't want educated people who know about the real history of Palestine, who know about the brutalities of the Israeli occupation. And this shows a photo I have taken during my graduation from the Islamic University, and how it has been, this is one of the buildings of the Islamic University, how it has been destroyed and turned into ashes. And this is the conference, the conference hall from which I graduated, and after that how it has been turned into just black color. And these are two important books that includes also writings or stories from Palestinian voices from Gaza as well. The book that's called Gaza Writes Back by Rifat al-Hariri. If you want also to read it, to know more about the Palestinian stories, you can read this book. It includes around 50 stories from multiple Palestinian writers. And another book is called Gaza Unsilenced. This is also an important book that sheds the light on the Palestinian case, the suffering of the Palestinians. And Rifat al-Hariri, before his killing, he was talking with a new media outlets, and he was crying at that time. He was saying, I am an academic, I am a professor, but if the Israeli occupation tried to attack us in our homes, I will hold the pencil that he has been writing with the expo marker, and he would throw it at the Israeli occupation, even if this is the last thing that he could do to defend and resist against the Israeli occupation. And this is while he was talking. I will play this video to see how he was crying, and he was talking fearlessly before his assassination.
We know that it's very bleak, it's very dark. There's no way out. If there's no water, there is no way out of Gaza. What should we do? Like drown? Like commit mass suicide? Is this what Israel wants? And we're not going to do that. And I was telling some friend the other day that I'm an academic. Probably the toughest thing I have at home is an expo marker. But if the Israelis invade, if they charge at us, open door to door, to massacre us, I'm going to use that marker, throw it at the Israeli soldiers, even if that is the last thing that I would be able to do. And this is the feeling of everybody. We are helpless. We have nothing to lose.
This is just the sound that you heard. It was an airstrike that happened while he was talking to one of the new media outlets. So Rifat Al-Hariri was not just a professor or a teacher for me. He was like a father for all of us, for all of the students who have taught. And before his killing, Rifat Al-Hariri wrote a poem that was well known among the whole world in different countries. He said, "If I must die, you must," I'm gonna recite it for you. And it means that we must hold hope even if he was killed. And we promised Rifat Al-Hariri that we will keep writing and we will keep going on his path of storytelling and writing. He said in his poem, "If I must die, you must live, to tell my story, to sell my things, to buy a piece of cloth and some strings, make it white with a long tail, so that a child somewhere in Gaza, while looking heaven in the eye, awaiting his dad who left in a place, and bid no one farewell, not even to his flesh, not even to himself, sees the kite, my kite you made, flying up above, and think for a moment an angel is there, bringing back love. If I must die, let it bring hope, let it be a tale." So he said that if I must die, it means that if he was killed, do not forget about his story, do not forget about writing, about using storytelling as a way to resist the Israeli occupation. And Rifat Al-Hariri was always telling us that storytelling and writing is an archive of collective memory, because it's really selfish and treacherous when you have a story and you do not want to tell it to the world. So stories exist to be told and retold time and time again. And I want to say about the statistics, or about how the new media outlets shed the light on us. As I said, they do not treat us as individuals or as normally human beings. They treat us as, in political terms, in numbers, in statistics, in a way that takes our humanity, or in a way that do not humanize us, do not they treat us as normally human beings to tell our real stories. So I really find that stories is like a way to resist the Israelis, to resist this kind of a propaganda that has been shaped or has been shared around us as the indigenous people of this land. And writing during the genocide was really tough, because I used to write, or I used to report along many other journalists during the blackouts of the electricity. We did not have electricity to charge our devices. We were writing under the airstrikes, under the fear. We were writing without having the energy also to write. Sometimes I feel that I cannot write because of the heavy moments that I'm living, or I have been going through. And since the beginning of the genocide, many journalists, many writers and storytellers have been deliberately killed by the Israeli occupation. And this is a deliberate attempt that they do not want us to reach the truth or to tell the truth to the whole world. But every time the Israelis are doing this, we become more stronger than before. And we find hope in many ways. Our children find hope in many ways. Hope is tiny, is fragile, yes, but we find it in the middle of devastation. We find hope in our children who still dream for a better future, to learn, to study. We find hope in our mothers who are still telling stories to their children under the sounds of bombs. We find hope in our doctors who are still treating their patients, and in our teachers who are still teaching in tents that lack the basic necessities or the basic things to teach. And I want to talk about my journey when I was evacuated from Gaza. The journey began in 2025. At that time, I dreamt of traveling as any other person, as any other individual who wants to travel around the world. But I didn't expect that my experience of traveling would be under the horrifying moments of the Israeli occupation. And at that time, I bid farewell for my younger siblings, and I hate farewells, I hate saying goodbyes, but I was forced to do so. I was between two minds, like to leave them or to stay with them. I felt that I am abandoning them during these horrifying moments under the Israeli occupation. And it was the first time for me here to travel, and it was, let me say, a heartbreaking moment for me, because I did not expect that I would travel one day and living this experience. And this shows the first time for me in the bus when we were crossing the Kerem Shalom border at that time. We did not have anything with us, just I had a small backpack with some certificates or papers that I kept when we were forced to displace our homes. We lived with our bodies, and we just survived with our souls. And it was the first time for me as well to see the Palestinians' land. Can you imagine this? We are the indigenous people of this land, and we didn't even see our lands before. It was the first time for me to see Jericho, to see the Dead Sea, just from the windows of the buses. We did not have the chance even to get off the buses or to walk in the streets while we were traveling. And we had this anguish, or we had this helplessness at that time. We were asking ourselves, like, we are the indigenous people of this land and cannot even go and enjoy the beauty of our lands while seeing the Israelis with their children enjoying them instead of us. And another thing is that I want to say that leaving Gaza was really heartbreaking for me, and I'm now living two realities here in exile, away from my family, away from my people. I live now in Ireland, completing my postgraduate studies, but I'm living two realities. It's really heartbreaking, because I feel that my body here is in exile, but my soul and my mind is still with my siblings, with my family members as well. So I'm living a second Nakba. The first Nakba for me, when we were forced to evacuate our homes, and the second Nakba for me now here in exile. I want to let you know, to remind you of the Nakba, it's not only an event, a historical event that happened in 1948. It's an ongoing thing. As long as there is an Israeli occupation, as long as the Israelis are still suffering under the Israeli brutalities, the Israeli cruel actions. And my family, along with other families, are refugees. We are already refugees from Jaffa, and our ancestors have already been displaced in the Nakba of 1948. So we are not originally from Gaza, but we are originally from Jaffa. But we, all the time, we feel our belonging to Gaza as it's our homeland, and we feel that it's our home, and it's really hard to abandon it. So as a survivor of the genocide now, I have this feeling of guilty that, I am now a person who is safe while my family are still trapped under the Israeli occupation. And but at the same time, I have this kind of responsibility, because when you are inside Gaza, you right to survive the moment, but outside Gaza, you right to preserve history. You right to tell or to talk about the sufferings of your people, to represent the people who cannot speak up, who cannot talk. And the fear or the misery that I have right now when there is no internet connection to contact with my family members. So that's why it's really challenging for me to be a survivor of the genocide away from my homeland. But despite being away from our homeland, we as Palestinians, despite we have been scattered in different countries, we still hold our city, our Gaza, wherever we go. We still remember the streets, the mosques, the places that we have lived in, the lemon trees, the olive trees, the restaurants, the mosques, the prayers, and the sea everything that could remind us of our city. So we will keep writing, we will keep speaking, writing, and talking about Palestine until it becomes free, until we rebuild our city to be much even better than before. So I want to end also my speech to say, here referring to the Israeli occupation, that they tried to bury us, but they did not know that we were seeds, that we will, in any way, in any attempt to try to silence us, we will keep talking and representing our people, even if we are away from it. Thank you.